even good evening for some of you. Welcome to Daily Antidote of Song. So glad that you are here on this day. We have many thoughts and remembrances today. As today, January 27th, is International Holocaust Remembrance Day. So thanks for joining us today and glad to see you. Of course, we have Aaron, who is our wonderful Zoom shepherd today, and Jojo, always so wonderful. Katy Carr is our singer and songwriter today, and hello to Aloysius in Massachusetts, and Anne. Hello to Anne and the other Anne in Silver Spring, and Annette in California. Hello, and Arlene in Berkeley, and Athea, glad to see you. Glad you are here. And it looks like Benet Dara, thank you for being here. Benet Dara Abrams, yes. Bob, hello. And Bob on the iPhone, hello. And Bonnie in Boise, thanks for joining us. Bronwyn in Victoria, BC. Carolyn, hello. And Clive and Ruth in Birmingham, UK. I guess it's a good evening for you. Cricket, glad you're here. Curly Tops, as always, yes. And Dan in Vienna, Virginia, because it could be Vienna, with our wonderful group here. Thanks for being here. Deborah in Kentucky, and Delhi, and Don and the Curly Tops, and Elizabeth in California. Gracie, thank you for being here. Hoda in BC, on Indigenous lands, thank you. We've got iPad number 2, well, we're glad you're here. Isabel in Florida, Julie in Orlando, Kathleen in Albuquerque, and Kathy in Arapahoe, yes. Kay in Texas, Linda in Orcas Island, Louise in the UK, good evening to you, and Maybelle and Bear in Massachusetts, and Nancy in Washington State, Sandy in Western North Carolina, Sheila in North Florida, Storm in Massachusetts, of course, in the Zoomiverse, yes, and Sue, thank you, from Seattle, and Susan from Cincinnati, Trish in Victoria, BC, and Keith in DC. Thank you so much for being here today. And I'm Dr. Kim Harris, and actually today I am in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm here at my mom's house. She's not on with me today, but she'll be on with me another time, I'm sure. So our singer, our songwriter, our amazing performer with much history to tell us on this International Holocaust Memorial Day is Katy Carr, coming to us from the UK. So thank you so much for being here, Katy. And what can you tell us? I know you've got personal history and even some wider history than that.
Yes, so welcome everybody. Thank you so much for having me here today, and Happy New Year. I know this isn't probably the right thing to say on this day, but I just wanted to wish everyone that. Yes, Holocaust Memorial Day, well, it's a very important day, especially to remember the forgotten voices of the Holocaust. And yes, my Polish grandfather was escaped from both Dachau and Auschwitz concentration camps in the Second World War. He was called Józef Goril, and he was Auschwitz number 22661. So my family have lived with the effects of Auschwitz since that time. He was imprisoned firstly in a small camp, because in Poland, without getting into massive detail, there were 3,000 German camps on Polish soil during the Second World War. And people only really know the main ones, but there are so many. So he was first in a camp called Pęgów, which I can't find the papers for. And then he was sent to Dachau, then he escaped from Dachau, and then he was sent to Auschwitz for correction, but then he escaped from Auschwitz. So I have some very sturdy blood in me. Yeah. And I for the last 10 years I've been rediscovering my Polish roots, and I've done that through writing songs about the deep trauma that has plagued Polish soil, especially during the Second World War, from both the Russian and the German occupations. So that's really where I'm coming from. Yeah.
Mhm. And so I'm glad that you actually have two songs that you'll sing for us today. Now, the first one is one that you want us to join in singing. Is that true?
Yes, so this is a song called Kommanders Car, and this is inspired by an escape from Auschwitz by a gentleman called Kazimierz. He was a Polish Boy Scout, and my song tells the last 80 meters of his escape when he's 80 meters from the final checkpoint, which he has to do something dramatic for the German guards to open the final checkpoint. And at this point he's always tells me that he borrowed the SS uniforms with his three political friends, and he borrowed the commander's car, but at this point he is in a Steyr 220 car that was owned by Rudolf Hess, who was the commandant of Auschwitz. So it's a very, very dramatical escape, and yes, it would be wonderful if we can join together to sing this. I have sang it with many different venues, and it's a big hit with my educational workshops about this topic as well. So it's quite a simple chorus. It goes, drive, drive, we gotta drive away, we gotta drive away, we gotta drive away. So some of you might know the song. So yes, that's what we were doing now. Would you like me to play it? Yes, you want me to play the song? Okay, so this is Commander's Car. So it goes drive, drive, we gotta drive away, we gotta drive away, we gotta drive away, drive, drive, we gotta drive away, we gotta drive away, we gotta drive away. 50 meters is all the lies are between us. Come to me, baby, come to me and save me. Drive, drive, we gotta drive away, we gotta drive away, we gotta drive away. Drive, drive, we gotta drive away, we gotta drive away, we gotta drive away. Take my hand, love, out of this darkness. This Polish bird must fly, and he won't be back no more, and he won't be back no more. Da, 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 da. 80 meters, 80 metrów, 50 meters, 50 metrów, 18 meters, 18 metrów, 50 meters, 15 metrów. Out in the commander's car, 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 out in the commander's car. Drive, drive, we gotta drive away, we gotta drive away, we gotta drive away. Drive, drive, we gotta drive away, we gotta drive away, we gotta drive away. Kazik, Zrób. because
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm just feeling breathless just singing that with you. And for me, I put that song next to the songs that I sing about Harriet Tubman escaping, and so that is an incredible song. Now, thank you. Okay, how do you feel when you sing that song?
well, I'm very tearful, especially today, because obviously I wouldn't be here if my grandfather had not escaped and my grandmother had not secured a place to hide him. So I'm quite tearful now. And my grandmother was a mountain woman in Polish. You would call her a góralka, so from the mountains, a Highlander. And so these mountains were 1 hour from Auschwitz, and my grandfather's to get there. And without her hiding him for 3 long, hungry years, I wouldn't be here today. So I thank God that I'm here and I'm able to, share this legacy, if you like.
You said she hid him not for 3 days, not for 3 months, but for three
Yeah.
years.
Yes, she,
And
yeah,
the
she did.
Gestapo came to the house, I understand.
Yes, they did. Because on the prisoner card in Auschwitz, it had my grandmother's name and it had my grandmother's address. So yes, there was a knock on the door, and my grandmother had taught my eldest auntie, Emily, to say that my grandfather would be back on Monday because he's gone to Breslau. She just told her to say something so obscure, but yes, it was a terrifying time because they came to the door and a little 3-year-old, said exactly what everyone was frightened because they thought that she might explain where he was, as a 3-year-old might do. But she said that he's gone to Breslau and will be back on Monday. But the Gestapo just put the gun in her face, and she was she didn't cry, but she had a bleeding nose and a bruised eye and everything. And yeah, she was very brave, and she stood up, and she remembers the smell of the Gestapo boots to this day. Um,
Mm, mm.
yes,
That
the
is
leather
a.
boots, yeah. So
Mhm.
it's a terrifying story, and and the effects of both these camps had a dreadful effect on my grandfather, who went cuckoo, after that experience. So it wasn't a pleasant time to be around him as well.
Right.
So
And you
my,
said that he was Polish Catholic,
yes,
and
that's
so
correct. Yeah.
why was he put into the camps?
Well, because during the Second World War, the Germans just stole people when they needed, let's say, houses, or they just needed people. They just stole people. And my grandfather actually was part of the resistance movement, so he was, blowing up train lines or whatever, and it didn't fit their remit, obviously, which I laugh about because I think it's great what he did, but he paid heavily for it, and after his escape from Dachau, he was then sent for correction to Auschwitz. So it was never an easy journey, but the scenes that he would have experienced in those camps were then reflected into the family life. So it was a lot of, aggression and violence, and people who have gone through big trauma, or then the following generations, the ancestral trauma then follows with that behavior. So it's a way of this. Hopefully, this is healing. This song heals some of that, or my music tries to heal some of that pain that we've all had to go through. So, um, yes. So yeah, a lot of, and then obviously after the Second World War, that's another topic. But the Cold War came, and 50 years of another regime, and totalitarianism, and probably it's the worst thing to have an artist in your family because you keep digging everything up for the
Picking
poor
things
family.
up, yes. Now I understand you have another song for
Yeah.
us. This is not particularly a sing along that you're going to do, but you have another one to do, and
Yes.
we'd be honored for you to do another one today, please.
Yes, so this one is called Dziś do ciebie przyjść nie mogę, and it means I can no longer come to you today. It's actually a partisan's lullaby, and it was the first song I ever learnt in Polish because I've only been learning Polish for like 10 years now. And it was taught to me by Kazimierz, who I sang about in Kommanders Car, and he was a Polish Boy Scout, and he wanted me to learn this song because he said when he was in the underground army, they used to sing a song and have a prayer every day before they had to do their activities, and they ended with a song and a prayer, and this was often sang. It was written in 1943, and it means a lot, and it tells the story of a lover who can't return to his loved one because he has to go and fight in the forest army. But I'll only sing one verse because it's very long. I'll just give you a taster of Polish language. Dziś do ciebie przyjść nie mogę, zaraz idę w nocy mrok. Nie wyglądaj za mną oknem, mgle utonie próżno zwrok. Bo czas ci, kochanie, wiedzieć, że do lasu idę spać. Dłużej tu nie mogę siedzieć, na mnie czeka leśna broć. Dłużej tu nie mogę siedzieć, na mnie czeka leśna broć. Just a taster.
That's a taste. And you've been learning Polish for 10 years now.
Yes, through the singing of songs, and also through all the activities that I've had to do, like talking to my community and being on the radio or the TV. I've had to do a lot of communication to try to get the message across of trauma healing and ancestral trauma, because so many people in Poland have been silenced about these terrible things, and as I said, it's a time now to really understand why certain characteristics happen, and I'm trying to through my own personal experience, to just touch a little bit on a very difficult topic. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Would you please sing for us again the Kommanders Car song,
Yeah.
as and we'll use it to rev up our hearts and souls for justice and for activism and for having things never happen again. We need to learn that as a whole of humanity. We need to learn that in so many ways and for so many situations. So please sing that again. And yes, everyone, I saw you singing before, so please join in the singing.
Okay, Kommanders Car. Oh, if anybody wants to play along, it's G minor and C minor. They're the main chords, and then it's just a little bit of a D. Drive, drive, we gotta drive away. We gotta drive away. We gotta drive away. Drive, drive, we gotta drive away. We gotta drive away. We gotta drive away. 50 meters is all that lies between us. Come to me, baby. Come to me and save me. Drive, drive, we gotta drive away. się on faktycznie, przecież on jest na mnie liczony. My heart it beats and my palms are wet. This Polish bird has flown. Drive, drive, if we gotta drive, we gotta drive away. We gotta drive away, we gotta drive away. Drive, drive, we gotta drive, we gotta drive away. We gotta drive away, we gotta drive away. Drive, drive, we gotta drive, we gotta drive away. We gotta drive away, we gotta drive away. Drive, drive, we gotta drive, we gotta drive away. We gotta drive away, we gotta drive away.
Thanks so much. Yes, everyone. Show your appreciation for Katy Carr. We thank you.
I wanted to say I've got a film of me handing this song to Kazik, who is here. That's Kazimierz Bruchowski here, and you can watch it on YouTube. Actually, you won't get all the shorts, but you'll see the film on YouTube, which is called Kazik and the Kommanders Car, and you can also watch the music video there. It might be interesting for you. It's only a 23-minute film, but I think you'll find it interesting.
Yes, yes, yes. And so we have the link for that. I think Aaron will put that in. And thank you so, so much for being with us today. And we really appreciate it. So what time is it where you are?
It's now 5:30 in the evening. It's dark now. I can't. Yeah, so you've got lovely light coming through your windows, but it's darkness here in London town. So yes, we think about you all the time in America, and we love our American friends. So yes, I've noticed some British people here as well. So hello.
Absolutely, absolutely. So thank you so much. Have a lovely evening where you are. I'm sure it will be lovely, but also a thoughtful evening where you are. So thanks so much. So everybody, Katy Carr.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. And thank you all for being here. So many wonderful people are here today. And so let's see if I can do this well. I always appreciate getting a chance to host. And so we'll say goodbye, 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 goodbye.
Kimmy, do you want me to do the goodbyes today since I know you have to go?
I do. Would you please?
Okay. Yeah, I sure would. Thank you so much, Dr. Kim, for hosting on a beautiful day and a day when we're talking about challenging things. And thank you, Katy, for bringing us tough subjects and lots of things to think about. And I know we talked about this during the sound check, but with the rise of anti-Semitism around the globe right now, I think it's so important. Katy, do you want to say something quickly before we?
Yeah, so it's absolutely unacceptable, this rise in anti-Semitism and anti-Jewish things, and it's just not acceptable at all. Not in 2024, never, ever, should it ever happen. So absolutely should stop immediately.
So thank
you, Katy. Yeah, and thank you, Dr. Kim. Yeah, it's tough subjects to talk about, but what we have here in this space is a platform exactly to talk about those things and think about those things. So on Holocaust Memorial Day, I'm glad that we were able to come together and give some thought to all of this. There are a lot of links in the chat, folks, that you can follow, including a link to the time in 2022 when Katy sang this song with us, where we had discussions about it that went in some different directions. So you might be interested in going back and also reflecting on those. Thanks again to Katy Carr. Thanks again to Dr. Kim Harris. Goodbye to everybody out there on the live stream. Thanks so much for watching today and for going on this journey with us. And bye to everybody in the room: Arlene in California, Susan in Ohio, Dan in Vienna, Virginia, Julie in Ontario, Mabel and Bob and the Bears, Sue in Seattle, Ann in Nashville, Bob in Albany, Ruth and Clive in Birmingham, Benet in Berkeley, Annette in California, Cricket in Maryland, Kathleen in Albuquerque, Linda on Orcas Island, Deli in Maryland, Martha in Oregon, Athena in Brooklyn, Hoda in British Columbia, Dawn and the Curly Tops. It looks like we've got Willard and Leanna today. Deborah, and I know I saw Robert. Glad you guys are here. Jamie in Vancouver, BC. Jamie in BC, Louise in Devon, UK. Thank you for being here. Kathy in Colorado, Anne in Silver Spring. Heading over to page 2, Storm in Massachusetts, Kevin in DC, Gracie, thanks for being with us today. Carolyn in Boise, thank you so much. Bonnie in Boise, thank you. Sheila in North Florida and other folks off camera. Elizabeth, California. Thank you, Aaron, for running spectacular tech today. Nancy in Washington State. Sandy in Western North Carolina. Kay in Texas. Kat in Vermont. Lynn in Connecticut. Anna, thank you for being here. Daily Antidote assistant, without whom we wouldn't be able to do so many things. Laris in the UK and Jane in Texas. Goodbye, and thanks again to everybody on the live stream.